How you doing today? It's Crux Magic, and I'm here to teach you how to paint this amazing piece of space art today. Doing the nebulized clouds, the stars, and talking about beautiful color balance, how to blend, and how to make high quality space art that your friends, family, and yourself will highly enjoy. So stay tuned. Let's get started right now. Alright, let's have some fun with the paint. Today we have dioxazine purple, quinacridone magenta, primary cyan, turquoise phthalo, and titanium white. And usually, I just pick a random color sometimes, or sometimes if I'm going for a certain look, I'll pick the color that fits the moment. And so, right now, I think that I'll start off with this nice magenta right here. Just grab a little magenta. I always like to wet my brush a little bit, get the paint fluid, and then just take it, put it on the canvas here, and then just push it around a little bit, just get some color on the page here. And then from there, I like to maybe grab a white and then just build it in, just dab it around slightly, being light on the brush. I mean, slightly heavy, some pressure, but just working it in, letting the colors blend well. And you can see here that it's turning out to be like a little flat. So, I'll go back over it and continue to add color and cloudy shapes. For example, like that, just put it in there. And what I like to do is lift up my brush slightly so that I can push the paint around in certain ways and just be random and chaotic about how the color is being put onto the canvas. Like lifting up, moving it a little bit, dabbing down, so that the colors have a more natural flow like a cloud. And then here, after I've done a little bit of color, I like to add a darker area here. I think purple would be a good area because it blends well with the magenta really nicely. And so, to give it some depth, I like to put in some dark purple, and it also creates that effect of space, that dark recesses of a background that can really help bring the color out of the magenta. And then because the dioxazine purple is so dark, you don't need a lot of paint to blend it into the magenta here. So what I like to do is I like to take my brush, right, and rinse it off so I don't lose a lot of the magenta just covering it up with purple. And then I go back to the edge. As you can see here, that's plenty, right? It's still a lot of purple. And so I just will work it into the side here and then slightly lift on my brush again. And even now I need to take some more paint off my brush to get the effect I want to go for, because I want it to be lighter and like it's fading off, right? So that's what I do. I like to blend in nicely, create some color, create an effect where it feels like the clouds are natural and blending together. And then you can take some of the pink and even blend it in towards the purple, right? So say I was going too much on the side here, and I wanted to add some pink back in and go into the purple, I could do that. I could just bring it in here and cause the pink to flow inward into the purple. Add in a little white. And because the white's in there, it's going to bring that purple out a little bit more too. So now we're starting to get a nice explosion of color, like space, galaxies, nebulas do. So over here, I feel like adding some white would really benefit the purple. Getting a little bit more purple onto my brush, getting a little bit more white, and getting a nice balance that helps me to make that nice creamy mid-tone color of purple. As you can see here, it's really starting to take shape now. Working it up to the side over here, bringing it out, keeping this nice dark recess in there so it looks like the cloud's floating on top. The shadows really help the light pop, so it's important to have very good contrast when you're painting space so that it gives it that 3D effect and the depth perspective that you're looking for. Next, I feel like blue right here. I like to do a good balance of color, so I'll start with the pink, purple, and whatever colors I'm using. So the blue will transition greatly from the purple because it's so closely related on the color wheel, and it can just naturally blend well. So right there, I like to put that blue in. I love this color, primary cyan. It's a very vibrant blue. Get some white to give it a cloudy effect again. And you know, sometimes just like blend it out and see what happens, and then add my touches to it later. Just get some color on the page. The best time is the secondary layer. Once you have the color established on the canvas, it becomes really enjoyable to paint the top layers and add your details. You know, add the areas that didn't come out as nicely, and you touch it up with your own flair and style that blends in a way that cohesively brings the whole piece together, getting rid of all those jagged edges and stuff. And we'll go over that in the future. Nice. See, what I like to do is, as you've been seeing here, I'll rinse off my brush a little bit and just blend the colors in just slightly so that I don't overwork the blue into the colors I already have. I think a purple over here might benefit it real well. So I'm going to do that right now. Get some purple over here. And sometimes when I put color down on the canvas and I see that I haven't finished some of the areas I started, like over here, I just realize I really haven't touched this up much and I don't want it to dry on there. So sometimes I'll just do this quickly, get some color on there, and then I'll go back real quickly and make sure that this color isn't drying in a way that I won't really like. So just go back over quickly, just constantly dab, right? You can see how I'm doing this. I'm like picking up, moving around, and making sure to offset my brush just slightly so that I get some of the darker color to still show, as you can see, like that. And then working this blue in here a little bit better as well. don't be afraid to just over paint. Sometimes I have occasionally, overworked an area and done too much paint because I didn't wipe my brush off, or I had a piece of color that was like real thick in an area and I accidentally pushed it in somewhere, and so I would just go with the flow, just let the paint guide you sometimes and just see where it takes you, because it can be beneficial in the long run, and then you can just go over it again. If you don't like something, that's great about painting. If you don't like how something turned out, you can go back and fix it up and cover it up. And often I've had people tell me, it's like, oh, I'm afraid to paint or something. I'm afraid to mess up. It's like, don't be afraid to mess up. It's actually, some mistakes can be very beneficial, and you can just, like Bob Ross says, happy mistakes, happy little trees, stuff like that. Just go with the flow, the natural course of how the paint is flowing on the page, and you can see the balance. As time goes on, if you're a beginner, you'll become more aware of the color balance, I feel. As time's progressed with me, I've gotten better at depicting where darks should go versus lights. Like over here, it's very light right here. And so I feel like a nice purple right in the middle here to bring it in can really benefit this cohesive line. And I can blend it out here and just bring a line, right? See how I bring this line out here? Just bring a nice line out there so it's like kind of like a thundercloud, right? And then I split it off and I can go like this and bring it out like a tree branch kind of thing, right? And just bring it out slightly. And then just lifting up the brush continuously, getting spotted areas so that it feels more like it's a broken up cloud. See right there. And then I like to rinse off my brush a little bit, get some water if the paint is too like dry, so that I can easily come over it with some light water after I dab it off. I dab it off a little bit first, and then so it's like light water, it's not heavy water, and I'm able to just put a little bit of fluidity into the paint so that I can push it around slightly. Okay, so I feel like pink over here is a good choice to keep the theme going. There's a lot of magenta that's been missing after I covered it up with all the purple. Now, going back, getting some white, because I feel like with the dark over here, some white paint with the pink will make these clouds appear closer, and so it will make the 3D effect a little bit better. And you see how this blue right here, I got some blue on my brush just now, slightly. And so work with it sometimes, don't be afraid to be like, oh, I want the pink only. Sometimes I'll just put it in there anyways, right? And just see how it comes out, and it's fine. You can see the blue honestly just blends right in because the other colors overwhelm it so much. Oftentimes I'll just work with whatever colors. You can see my white over here it's got pink and blue and all these colors in it already, and I just grab white, and if it's got blue, I like to sometimes get just the white, so I'll get to the side and get just the white. But sometimes I'll be like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick up those colors and work with it and just put it on there, because you can see that it's just a mixture of color that we're creating right now. Constantly just sporadically moving my hand, picking it up, dabbing around to make sure that I'm getting rid of all the hard edges. I'm getting rid of all the areas that seem unnatural and just tapping around until the clouds appear in a way that's more fairy tale like, more like that dreamy, foggy feel that you see in the movies, or you see like at a gate that's opening up in the forest, and it's all those foggy, cloudy trails. Put a little purple in there, work it in up into this cloud here. I feel like it's time to get the other color we have, which is turquoise, which is one of my favorite colors here. I really love how turquoise looks and how it blends well with white. Alright, so I'm going to rotate my canvas. I constantly rotate when I'm working on some space art. I like to rotate and just keep a flow that is organic and not any kind of structured way. You know, I feel like sometimes when we paint, I don't want to say we, but sometimes when I have painted just in one certain way, you can sort of restrict yourself from an organic spiral of space because you're trying to convey it in a certain landscape mode. So be sure to just rotate, because space is abstract and very organic in the way it explodes, the way clouds billow and move in different directions with the wind. Alright, so I'm going to grab this turquoise. See, I put all the dark colors over here, like I put all the majority of the paint over here and got a line in here so that I can work with it and blend it upwards. So I'm not just putting a dark line over here and trying to blend it in and then all of a sudden I just cover everything up. I put it, offset it, right, and spread it out, and then I can work it in by lightly working the paint over. And I still even have quite a bit of paint on my brush, so I'm going to rinse it off, right? Dry it off a little bit. And now I can slightly lift off on the brush so there's not so much pressure. Even now I need to wipe off a little bit, right? To get it in there just right. And you can see how I slowly and lightly blend it in. And I like that about whites and stuff. When you blend over whites, you can get a nice effect right there, like that. So working a little bit of turquoise into the clouds over here. Not too much though. I'm gonna wipe that out. Just very lightly over here, just add a little bit of color. So it feels like it's coming from all the way over there and changing form. And over here you can see there's like a harsh line right here, right? So I think that pink would go pretty well over here. And I'll just Add a little bit of pink in, blend it in over here. Just get this color more natural in transition. Okay, now I think white into the turquoise will look nice. Just spinning the brush around. And then I feel like I want to change the color. And I think that over here should be a blue. Now I'm going to do pink over here as well, because it's going to give a good balance here. You know, the pink over here, the pink over here, blue, blue, and then turquoise, a little turquoise and purple in the middle. And then later on, we'll go over it and add some different colors in different areas to just give it a more full view look that's blended in a way that feels finished. White in there, which is good for this nice light blue. You can see that they're similar in tone. They have the same balance. And so I think that these colors will do well together, being blended and feeling a bit natural. So I have a lot of paint on my brush right now. Blend it in here. Wiping some of that off and working this paint in to the side over here and a little bit more, so I can always grab. That's what's great about it. When you wipe off your brush, you know, you can always grab a little bit more if you wiped off too much from the area. You just get a little bit or something, not a whole like glob. And slowly work the paint into the blue here. I feel like I want to cover this up a little bit and come into here. So I'm just going to make this little tiny cloud that comes over here. And I'm going to add a little bit more magenta. Add some contrast. feel like purple right here would be good, because there's only purple over here right now. And like I said, I like to have a nice balance where there's colors in different parts of the canvas a lot of the times. It's not always necessary, but I feel like it adds to a visual appeal that juxtaposes to every color and brings about a nice balance throughout the piece. Like right now, I could go shoot this up into here, just be sporadic about the lines, and just put some contrast into the see here, just offsetting, not painting fully through. Just swirling my brush around, lifting up, putting down, lifting up, putting down, lifting up, putting down, swirl around, you know. Making sure not to just like stroke it around, but where you're just like circling and just blending it totally. But just lifting up, dabbing, lifting up, swirl, dab, swirl, dab, you know, and then eventually you get this nice like cloudy mixture here, as you can see, where it's looking like those clouds that are broken up into little tiny segments, and it's like the frozen ice on the side of a freezer where you see all the little particles and they build up and it's all like broken up into like little tiny sections and stuff. It's kind of what it's like a little bit to me, if you know what I'm talking about. Dab, 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 dab. And then the purple can come in here even, you know? Just bring it out here and just work with it, you know? Flow with it. Just find stuff that seems like it would work nice. Blending the colors in. Over here we have a harsh line of turquoise going on, so we'll take care of that in a second. I'll show you what to do. See over here, it's kind of harsh. By putting the purple just slightly blended, and now it makes it look like it's transitioning more into a cloud than just like a harsh line where it just cuts off. We don't really want that because that seems unnatural, and so by blending in the colors a little bit, you can really get a depth of perception effect that allows it to look more like it's fading off into the background of the space. I'm just blending colors fast. You can see how fast I'm going. I'm just like moving it around and spinning it around, lifting up, dabbing, spinning around, lifting up, dabbing, and I just go really fast, you know, because like space is chaotic and fast, you know, and so by doing that, it allows for a more randomization of color to occur, versus when you're slower about it. Sometimes when you're really methodical, it's good to go methodically slow sometimes when you're trying to get it to look a certain way, but I feel like the backgrounds are really beneficial when you go fast and quick, because then you're not trying to put your own human conception and how you think it should look. Now you're opening up the door so much to just the randomization and be natural with the flow of energy. Some dark purple. See how this turquoise is pretty harsh, so I'm gonna put some dark purple in there, blend it out over here like this, come in here like that, and just shoot it up in there, you know. And then over here. Alright, so now the fun really gets to happen. Now that the colors are already on the white canvas, we don't have to try to cover that up anymore. The true fun can begin. For example, blue right here would be good. There's not a lot of blue in this piece right now. I see a little bit here, a little bit there, and I have a ton of paint to use. I like to use my paint up when I'm painting, because I don't like to really waste paint. And I even have extra canvases ready to go when I'm done with the piece that I'm working on, just so that I can use up the remaining paint and make a little tiny painting, so that I save my paint, and I also start another canvas, the smaller little ones that I could sell to people, you know, that aren't going to take as long. So that's a good way to use your paint. And as you can see here, I'm using actually a canvas to use as a palette. And I like to use the canvas as palettes because I like to build the colors up on here, and after a while I make a piece out of it. You know, I'll take the colors that all blend together and I have a huge pile of paint, as you can see here in this example, right? And later on I'll make a painting and see what I see in it and pull things out and make a cool artwork that has texture that I can sell that as well. So that's something to think about when you're doing your art. It's like, it's going to save on the environment by not putting a bunch of plastic acrylic down the sink when you're cleaning your palettes, and it's also a way to make more art. You know, it's a way to save your paint, elongate your supplies, and make more money. So that's something to think about when you're painting. Dabbed a little white off because it was too much, and now you can see I'm just billowing these white clouds, and you can see that right here there's some white on the edge of the back of my brush here, and if you dab just the top, sometimes you can just get the blue, but if you dab sideways you can get that white in there, you know, sort of like that, right? So that's what I like to do sometimes, is just, if I'll feel it out as I'm painting. I'm like, oh, there's some white that way, so I'll just like, I want to put white over here, and I'll like dab that side to get the white over there to make the cloud billow up. Alright, get some more blue over here. It's really dark, as you can see, so I'm going to add some white. And then lightly, I'm going to wipe off the blue and just work it up in here slightly, fading off just ever so that it feels like it's coming in like very tiny to big. Same over here, just tap it just slightly into the edge. Turquoise needs to come back a little bit. I covered up a lot of it. Bringing in some turquoise. Getting some white on there because I think the turquoise looks really nice with white. And creating this nice blue cloud form in the corner of this canvas here. So there's a lot of like light turquoise here now. I'm going to just wipe off my brush slightly here and fade it off into this dark recess of space. where the dark purple is and blend it in the dark purple, so it feels more like it's. I think the dark turquoise can come over this way too. I feel like it needs more space areas where it feels like it's going more towards the dark end, to give it some more contrast and a comparison to show you how much clouds are actually in there. So, thought came to mind, so I'm going to go with it. I think it's time to add some stars! Some beautiful twinkly, glowing balls of gas in the sky that we love to gander upon in the night, to see the beautiful light glimmering in your eyes. So I feel like putting some stars on now is a good idea, and I'll show you how I do that. I'll rinse off my brush, and I'm going to move it to this side so I can get just the white paint. And what I like to do is bring the white out, and then get it super wet. Get a lot of water in there, so that, and I like to spin my brush too, to just get all the paint off and then make sure it's blended well. Is that enough? That's still not enough. I'm going to get a lot more water still, I feel like. Alright. I think that might be good. Alright, that's good. And so, I'm just going to wipe it off just slightly. Rinse my brush off real quick, dry it off, and grab a little bit of this paint. And then I like to do a horizontal tap. So I'll hold my hand like this, and then up here, I'll just slightly tap. And sometimes at the beginning, it's very thick paint, so I'm careful to not just like tap it so hard where I get a big spot. And just slightly tap, so that I get a nice effect. And then as I get the paint off, then I'll tap harder, right? Getting those smaller stars on there. And I like to do it this way versus like flicking the brush like some people do, because that can cause splatter streaks, which is not very natural and doesn't look like a star. And then you have to fix that by dabbing it out with your finger or painting over it. So I like to just take my time and do the horizontal tap, getting some beautiful stars on the piece. And then this will be good because now that the stars will be on here, I can continue to put clouds on it, and what will happen is some of the stars will go in the background or get covered up just slightly to where the point where they look like they're faded in the cloud, you know, versus just on top of the cloud. Getting some nice beautiful stars in here. There's a nice thick one. I like the big one sometimes. It's a good spot for it. Okay. And over here. Alright, so what happened was, just now, this one is kind of a weird shape. It's kind of like oval. So I'll just take my brush and spin it around. Until I have a nice circular shape. Boom. And then I'll do that too, over in different areas. I'll just add some bigger stars. wherever I feel like they could use a place in the piece. Alright, rinse my brush off real quick. And now, I feel like there needs to be some clouds over here, or maybe some, actually I feel like more purple needs to be brought up into this area here. So I'm just gonna grab that to get a nice dark edge. Bring it into the blue. I feel like bringing it into the blue here, and then lightly lifting up and making it like kind of like a tree, you know, a little bit. Just like lifting off and not being so tree-like, just kind of being random at the same time. And I'm going to be careful about this white right here because I just put it down and it's still wet. So I'm just going to go around it real fast and make sure that it stays intact. Some of the other ones I don't care if I blend in with those. A lot of the little ones dry pretty fast. Purple up in here. You can see how the purple really gives it some depth and it gives it that character, you know. When you add the purple or any dark color over the white clouds, which usually I like to do. I usually like to do the darks later, right? Because then you can really put where you want that contrast versus having it in the background and everything. And you can really make it as intense and as dark as possible. Versus when you put the lighter colors on top, then it gets kind of muted out and becomes lighter. So it's always nice to put the darks on last. And you can see here how I'm working the purple in on top and really bringing out the cloudy effect now. Just sporadically moving, spinning, tapping, doing whatever it takes to make a nice cloudy effect. Alright, looking good. Now over here I feel like it's a bit harsh. It's a bit, you can see it's just like a line, right? Over here it's more cloudy and billowy. So I'm going to work on developing the purples over here a bit more. But I think I want to put a bit more pink in there perhaps first. Because I just don't think there's enough right now. I want to be very intense in color over here. Perhaps I think bringing some pink into the piece over here with the turquoise might help it just slightly. It's about dry brushing too, you know, getting just enough off the brush to just tap it in and get some of that light color of pink into the turquoise over here, as you can see, you know, just dabbing down. I hope that comes out on camera, but like, you know, getting some of that pink tapped in there can really give it just that little accent, you know, that flavor into the clouds. For that purple that I was talking about. Thank you for watching, by the way. Thank you for partaking in this tutorial. I pray that you'll come back, because I'm going to produce a lot more tutorials in the future and talk about personal development. You know, take a look at my channel, take a look at some of the other things I have available for you to learn and expand your life in positive ways that promote, you know, growth and success. I'm very thankful for, you know, your viewership, and I pray that you'll like and subscribe to this video. Join me on a regular basis to learn about how to paint space art, how to paint sacred geometry and sea life. Because I'm going to work on my skills and then bring my understanding and techniques to you so that you can also create amazing artwork that inspires people and helps you be more fulfilled and happy in life. My art is about positivity and love, and I pray that you will enjoy my content. Tapping that pink into the dark recesses of the purple, so it looks like the cloud is just fading off into that little area of space. Alright. Well, I think that's pretty good. Beneficial, just to tap it into the dark area. I'm not going to put white in it. I just want to tap it off into the edge here, so it looks like it's a cloud that's just fading away. Maybe just a slight white, not a lot. Just tap a little bit of white on there, wipe it off, tap a little bit, wipe it off again, and then get a nice lighter effect just to get rid of some harsh edges. We get a little bit more blue on there, and then it's looking pretty good now. Okay, same with over here. I want to add a little bit of blue, purple maybe. A little bit more natural over there than a harsh little edge that I was seeing. Okay, little bit more stars now. Again, with the white, getting it super wet, making it almost like water. You don't want it to be thick because then it'll stay on there on the brush. You want it to be able to just drip off, but not so much to the point where it's like splattering as it falls, but enough to just get those little particles to show up. I feel like that's enough. I'm just going to tap over here real quick. Okay, it's enough. And you'll get a feel for how much water you need in there over time. Just slightly tapping around, making sure to cover up the canvas. It's good to get some areas more than others so that it feels like there's like a healthy balance and it's not just stars throughout. You can have like little star clusters and stuff like that. And then I'm just going to take some of that paint and dab some bigger dots around the piece. Sometimes I like to hold my wrist, you know, to steady my hand a little bit more. It can give you leverage sometimes to just hold your hand. Okay. Alright, now that we have the stars on there, what I like to do is grab white. First, get a little bit of a thicker white, dab it off a little bit, and then add a very light halo around these bigger stars. You don't want it to be totally white, so you want to get like a dry brushed white. You want to put a nice little soft halo ring around each of the bigger stars that you plan to add twinkles to. Sometimes you can really ring it out and add some extra rings even, just to give it more of like a really powerful effect, you know, like that or something. Offsetting so you see some of the other like colors around. I'll show a close up here in a bit. Again, dabbing my brush off a bit, making sure that it's not so white. You want it to be a little bit less white than the star itself, so that it looks like it's just the glow and the powers within the star. Dabbing my brush off, too much, too white. put too much white on, just like fade it out to the edges to get a bigger halo, so that it becomes less intense. Of course, I'm going a little bit fast for the sake of the video. I would spend my time and more carefully make sure that I had a color that I wanted and a size that I wanted. And it's because this is so big over here, I'm going to make this star bigger because I made a really big halo there. So I'm going to make that star really big right now. Okay, now that we have our stars with halos, it's time to add some twinkles to them. I like to get a bit of paint out here, the thicker version of white. Spin my brush to the point where it's pointed, and it has nice tip and just enough paint to get a nice line. What I like to do is find a way the clouds look, and I feel like a diagonal line like this would be very nice. So I like to keep my fingers touching like this, keep my hand really steady, and just putting a nice little line in here. I don't need it exactly like that. Very carefully and very steady hands paint a line. Now, another way to do it could also be using like a ruler. If you let the paint dry first on top, and then you can use a ruler as a guideline if you wanted to. I just prefer to do my own freestyle lines. You can get better with practice. You get very good. It will develop your artistic skills to do it freehand and learn how to make straight lines with your own ability. Slightly lift off towards the edge and then fade out. So you're not just making a nice long hard edge, but you're actually making it intense at the beginning and fading off to a nice pointed effect. Usually, you know, with the bigger stars, I like to do 8, do these 4 big ones, and then add smaller, little tinier lines that just come out slightly. And you don't always have to do them the same length. Because if you look at the sun, you know, it has many different rays that are going at different lengths. So just feel free to make longer ones or skinnier ones. So there's that star. Alright, so I'm just going to go over all these stars real quick and make my lines. I like to make them go different directions as well. If I make a crisscross pattern like this, I like to make it offset, maybe do a bigger crisscross pattern diagonally below that one, so it's not like two crisscross patterns that look like they're repetitious, but they're like twinkling at different levels of intensity and brightness. This one, because it's so big, I'm going to add even another layer of little tiny star rays in each little corner here, because these lines are super big. So I feel like adding just a little bit more can really make it really nice. Alright, now got all the main stars twinkling. Now to go for some of those little tinier stars in the background, you know, over here or something, I could just do like little tiny crisscross patterns, just 4 lines even, you know, just to do a little bit of, and make them smaller too, so it looks like they're really far away. They're not super close, giving it a good depth perception. That way it gives a comparison for these other stars to really show you they're close up, intense, and it allows you to see the depths of space by having these little twinkling stars in the background. It doesn't need to be a lot, you know, just some to give it some comparison. I once saw a picture of a house, a drawing of a house in a book illustration, and they put a little tiny dog in front of the pathway there to give you that depth of, like, to show you how big that mansion was. Without that little dog in there, it could just look like a tiny house sometimes, you know. So giving the viewer a way of comparing how things are by putting something smaller or closer up by making it bigger can really help bring more depth and quality to the piece. I think that's all. Well, here is the final result. You can see here we have this beautiful nebulized space art with all the beautiful clouds throughout the dark recesses of space here. And I used the dioxazine purple to get through here. And what I normally like to do is go with a little bit of Mars black and just put it in there just a little bit, just to get a little bit darker. I didn't do it with this piece, but you know, in the future I will produce more tutorials and talk about that aspect of painting the space. Right now we just have this beautiful, nice cloudy painting with some beautiful stars. So be a star of your own life, you know, and just fill your mind with majestic thoughts of the cosmic force of your divine nature, and fill each day with creativity and expression of your inner love for self. So have a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe my video and share it if you enjoyed it. Comment. I'd love to hear from you about your adventures of painting art and what you'd like me to do further in the future. What did you want to know? So help me by commenting and staying tuned for more great tutorials in the future. Have a lovely day, my beautiful love lighter.